How terrible.
Okay.
Well, so now I have to give the introduction again because I can't let the recorded version not have my introduction. So everybody's going to hear an echo. Oh my goodness. So this is Nicole with Cards O Glee, and I am so excited she's here. I'll give you an introduction of how we met in the business course last year, which I can't believe it's almost been 2 years, but literally Nicole is a badass woman that I am so excited to share with all of you. Literally, her and I have so much in common that we totally did the whole Step Brothers. Did we just become best friends online? And I am so excited to share her with you all because she is a former educator, but always an educator. We're both Polish. We both love drinking beer and we both love swearing. So fuck yes.
Yeah.
And she's one of those women that she's so authentic that it makes you want to be authentic and step into who you are. Because I feel like that's the great thing about women is that once you see them shining their light, you just want to shine yours too. Yes. So Nicole is an English teacher as well as a school counselor who recently opened a brick and mortar card shop to sell the greeting cards she makes, as well as cards and goodies made by other badass women. And when I say you're a card creator, I'm like, but she's so much more than that. She's so much more than that. So how would you introduce yourself if you were going to give your elevator speech and say, I'm Nicole, I'm a badass because...
Exactly how I would do it.
Yes.
You know, it's crazy because it's so new to me. What do I say? Yeah, Nicole, I'm a badass. There it is. No, that I own a greeting card shop, a gift shop, and we represent over 30 women makers, and almost all of them are not on Amazon, small, women owned. So yeah, you know, I just do whatever I can to celebrate the hell out of this life because it's hard. It's really hard. And anytime we can sprinkle some joy, some laughter, some sweariness to take the edge off, like I'm here for it.
Absolutely. And I feel like if you just go on her Instagram, you see how much fun she's having. It's like, I'm just like, I want to hang out with her. You know, I want to, you know, celebrate with champagne and go, you know, she has just so much. And you also do a lot of community events, which is so awesome. What are some of the events that you've hosted in your store recently?
So we've done wax seals, which I'm addicted to. So that's been really fun. We're doing another one for the holidays. We've done yoga. We've done, and part of yoga was writing a love letter to yourself. And so everybody got a card and they had time. And I, of course, made prompts and a worksheet. I'm a teacher.
Of course, teacher.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. Obviously. And so, yeah, we wrote love letters to them, to ourselves, and then I kept them. I still have a lot of them from the summer, and then I just mail them out whenever I feel like it, so that hopefully it comes on a day that somebody really needs it.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
Yeah, and I just did that workshop again last weekend, and a lot of people came up to me and they're like, "Oh my God, that was so emotional." And I was like, "Good," because how often do you write yourself a letter? Like, you know,
and then you mail it to them later on?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that is like the coolest idea because getting a letter in the mail is one of my absolute favorite things. And I'm the crazy one that I will save every card I receive, but you gotta write something in it. You've got to. If you just put your name, I'm like, come on, give me some juice.
Nope, those get tossed.
Yeah. It's like I was like piling all of them up and I'm like, okay, I've got to find out which ones I'm going to keep. And like my sister will write in the card, like, I know you're going to keep this one because I wrote in it. And I'm like, you're damn right I am.
Oh my God.
I just love it. Yeah, I just love it. And I think when you send out those cards to people, it really makes them smile because I recently put your cards in one of my book boxes just as a little bit of, you know, a little bit of glee. And my members were like, what is this? This is so me. And I'm like, I know. And that's the cool part too, is when you can pick out a card that you know someone's going to enjoy. It's like, it's just perfect. It's just perfect. So yeah, I'd love to start off talking about your business, but I really want to hear about you as well. So your favorite quote is something that I really feel like has resonated throughout this whole week in us discussing, you know, with the different women. And it's, you don't have to see where you're going. You don't have to see your destination or everything you will pass along the way. You just have to see 2 or 3 feet ahead of you. And that's Anne Lamott, Bird by Bird. So I want to talk about what that really means to you. How does that inspire you? What is the meaning of that quote to you?
Yeah. So I first read Anne Lamott, I think about 6 or 7 years ago. There's a writing program here in Nevada. Well, maybe it's national, the National Writing Project. But here's
Yes, in
Southern
November,
Nevada.
right? Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. And so we read that book and I was like, holy shit. Like she was somebody who was also super authentic, sweary, funny, knew her shit, loved writing. So I immediately was just like taken with her. And anyways, the quote really didn't mean much to me actually until we took that business course together, because I'm a firstborn, I'm super type A, I'm a teacher. Like we love to control everything that we can
Yes,
control. We love to
everything.
be super organized. We have to plan the whole year in the summer before we even get to work. Like, you know,
Oh,
you can't
yeah.
like roll up in teaching and be like, I'm here. Well, my husband does, but I think he's kind of miserable when he does it. But anyways, so like when I've been making greeting cards since I was a very little girl. And so I always wanted to open my own business. I've had for a long time, but I could never get there because I was trying to plan every single step of the way. And it just doesn't work like that. It doesn't work. Like I always tell my friends that are perfectionists, I'm like, the quickest way to break that is to open a business. Like there's no room for it. You can't move forward if you're always trying to see the entire roadmap. So last couple of years, I keep going back to that quote because I love that book. And I was like, okay, Nicole, all you need to do is just see the next couple steps. You don't have to see the next 3 months, or you just need to see the next 2 days, the next 2 hours. And if you can just keep putting one foot in front of the other, that's how you get your shit done.
Yeah. Well, and it's such an important lesson because it's one thing I teach my students. I'm like, just focus on the one thing. Like, I know you have this big ass project you have to do, or I know you have this huge thing. Just focus on that one small step. And sometimes that's hard because you want to do so many things and you want to be perfect. But when you see someone who even, we judge ourselves and think, oh, what if I get this wrong? And I'm the type of person, as I'm sure you are, if you see someone on social media that made a mistake, you're like, oh, I feel, and then like you want to support them more because you're like, oh, I feel so bad, and so I just love that. And you mentioned that you've been doing this since you were a little girl. So let's just jump right into the story behind your business. Like, I know I have heard the story, but of course, other people might not have.
Yeah. So the first card I remember making, I was 6, I think, and my parents were fighting. Bless my parents. They fought a lot when I was growing up. But I was, my other sisters weren't born until I was 7 and older. So I was alone and they were fighting. So I wrote them a card and it said, I'll still love you if you get a divorce. And I was 6. I don't even know how I knew about divorce, but whatever, it doesn't matter. And so like my parents stopped fighting and my mom just started bawling and I was like, oh no, I'm so sorry. Like, and so she's like, we're just fighting. Adults fight sometimes. We love each other. Everything's okay. And so anyways, at that young age, I saw what an effect cards could have on people when you just put your heart on them. And, it really opened up this conversation with my mom and me, even at 6. So, throughout my life, I kept making cards, and in high school, they got silly. It was like, when my friends would have breakups or fail their math exam, or one time my friend, her dad accidentally ran over her foot in the driveway on the way to school. So like, obviously I needed to make a card for that. So,
yeah. You need to make a card for that now. I'm sure.
Yes, right. Like it happens all the time. Like what the fuck? Anyway. So that's just what it was. And on the back, like I can't actually draw that well, like sort of kind. I have an art minor, but like art drawing's not really my thing. But I would draw something horrible on the back, like something super terrible that I couldn't draw.
Yeah.
And then write Nikki T's Cards O Glee, because that's the only word I could think of that rhymed with T. I don't know. I don't even know. And so anyways, it was like always a joke with my best friends. They're like, you have to sell cards. Like you have to open a card shop one day. And so it's just always what we talked about since I was made these horrible cards. And so then when it was the pandemic and I was turning 40 soon, I was like, well, shit, if I'm going to do this, I've
got to do it.
Like, what the hell am I waiting for? This is the time.
Yeah. And I think that's so funny how it's like, there's certain ages that you're just like, okay, I've got to just I've got to shut up and move forward. Like, and Carrie Green is a fabulous woman to follow. And she says, get out of your own way. And I'm like, what the hell does that mean? And then when you get out of your own way, you're like, bye, I'm moving past you. Like, get out of, to yourself, not to anybody else, but like, it's like, get out of your own way, because like we stop ourselves and it's like, why do we feel so stuck in the mud? Like, just make that little thing change. Like, and especially when you have the big birthdays, because sometimes I just had a birthday and I'm like, oh my God, how did I get here? How long has it been since I graduated high school?
Oh, don't go down that road.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, don't even think about it. Or so even talking to friends, I was talking to my best friend on Tuesday and I was like, how long have we been friends? Oh my gosh. I didn't even think I was that old.
You don't look it though.
Yeah. So Cards O Glee. So how did you come up with that name? You said it rhymes with tea, but is there like anything that inspired you to come up with that? Or you were just like, has it always been that name?
Yeah, always. It's always been that name, Nikki T, Cards O Glee. Yeah, because it rhymed and I wanted it to be happy. And so Nikki T's part of the happy.
Your last...
Yeah, my last name's Twardzik.
Here I am like, oh, she means like tea.
Well, look, I drink tea all the time. So like it's fitting, but
now it's coming together. I'm like,
yeah. So Nikki T was like kind of my nickname. Only close friends could call me that. Even then it was kind of weird, but yeah, because my family called me Nikki. Everybody else called me Nicole. But sometimes they would be like, Nikki T, and I'm like, oh, okay. So then that was like my alter ego making cards was Nikki T, Cards O Glee. And then so when I opened the business, I was like, it kind of sounds stupid. I didn't want to do Nikki T's Cards O Glee because it was so long. So I just Cards O Glee. So people think I'm Irish because they're like, what's the Cards O Glee? I'm like, I was like fucking 10 when I came up with it. I'm not Irish. Actually, I red hair and I'm not Irish. I'm 100% Polish. That's besides the point. So that's kind of weird. Like, but I'm like, nothing else I don't know.
And it's so cool that you've been doing this since you were a kid, because we talked about that this week as well, that sometimes the things that you enjoy as a kid are like what you're going to do with your life. And I'm like, what did I enjoy doing as a kid? Talking. I fucking love talking, like all the time. I'm like, I always got in trouble in school. Like they always pulled my card and everything. And now I'm like, I do it for a living, bitches.
Oh my God, me too.
Yes.
Oh my God. We've gotten so much together.
And I feel like Nikki T would be the perfect like DJ name. Like, what's up? It's Nikki T.
My tea mug, just like, yeah.
Exactly. So awesome. So what was the ultimate choice? Because I know when we both were doing the business course, we were like, we want to get out of our day job. Of course, like, don't quit your day or don't keep your day job. Yeah. And we both kind of wanted to step out of that. And now we are somewhat out of it. I know we're both doing like, some different things that still are involved with education, but what was that moment that you said, okay, I've got to open up the store. I'm doing this. I'm breaking the chains of fear and moving forward.
That's a good one. This is a little juicy and fun.
Yeah.
So, I took the business course with you almost 2 years ago, which is crazy to think about.
That's so weird.
And, I had started online and I was selling just like with using Google Forms and actually doing pretty well. And then, a little over a year ago, I had a website. And so, and same thing, during the pandemic, being a school counselor, like I was burnt out before the pandemic. And
yes, girl. Yes.
It's like, I kept coming home and being like, we're going to adopt this kid. We're going to adopt this kid. Like it was hard. And, even though I love it. Anyways, in the middle of the year, I think it was in January, probably, Kathy Heller did another like free week that I went to just for funsies. Because it happened to be while I had a break at work. And so, anyways, in that group, like people were asking me stuff because they knew I had taken the course before. And I just like made a declaration. I was like, there's 70 work days of the school year left. I'm not coming back. And so and I put it in the group because there was like thousands of people in the group.
Oh, I got goosebumps. Like, yeah.
And I didn't even know any of them, but I was like, I just need to tell people, not people that I necessarily know, but I want to put it in the universe. And so so I printed a sheet at work with 70 boxes on it with the numbers.
Oh, look at you. You are such a teacher.
I know. And I normally never, never start the countdown that early as a teacher because it's like, unbearable because it's still like January.
Right.
70 more days left. Kill me.
Yeah.
So,
And for those that don't know, educators do that. Like some of them have a countdown. I even had a friend who put it as her Facebook profile picture. It's like 10 days left, 9 days left. And then she did it for summer school. And some of the educators were like, stop that shit. You're counting down my summer. Like, stop that shit.
Yes.
How dare you?
I know. It's a thing. It's hard. It's the most exhausting job in the world. So, so I was just crossing it off, and like my husband would like leave me notes in my lunch bag, like 53 days. And like,
so awesome.
But I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew that that's how many days I had to figure my shit out. And so, so in the town that I live in, it's called Boulder City. It's the town that built Hoover Dam. So I live really close to Hoover Dam.
Oh, damn. That's great.
Yeah, damn girl. I have the best damn card. Anyways.
You're a damn girl. You live in that damn town.
It's in this damn, yep. Oh, it's so damn bad. Anyways, so I live in this really cute little historic town. And I took a day off because we have something called the Damn Short Film Festival here. And it's like, they have, hundreds of videos that they show, and it's awesome. And it's super creative. And I always get so inspired. So I always save a personal day every year for the Damn Short. Yeah. And this past year, it still had to be online because of stupid COVID. And I was like, I'm going to still stay home. I'll stay in my PJs. I'll watch a bunch of movies. And so before I watched the movies, I walked into town and got some breakfast, got some coffee. And I noticed I had kind of had an eye on a spot, and they put a for rent sign in the window, and it's on the main drag. And I had called about a few other places before, and they were like $2,000 a month, 2-year lease. And I was like, there's no way I could sell enough cards to like, like a pipe dream. No.
Right. Yeah.
So I saw this place open up, still on the main drag. And in my head, I was like, okay, if she says 1-year lease under $1,000, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And so I called her, and she said, yeah, it's a 1-year lease, and it's $995.
So you're like, thank you, manifest. Thank you, universe.
I was like, I see you, universe. All right. Well, fuck me, I guess. So luckily my friend's boyfriend is now he's her fiance, but at the time he was her boyfriend, and he's a lawyer. And so I was like, can you check this contract to make sure I'm not doing something stupid? And he was like, no, it's clean. And so I just signed the contract and was like, well, fuck it. I've got like 62 days left or whatever the hell. And luckily my dad's a carpenter. And so he flew out and helped me build out the shop like in a month. I don't know how I did it. I don't know how I did it.
Well, it's incredible because you put it into the universe and then just started to make the changes happen. And that's so important for people to know, is that all you have to do is just speak it into existence. And there's a quote from The Alchemist that says, when you want something, the universe conspires for you to achieve it, or something like that. And it is pretty true. Like, of course, people might say, well, I'm wanting $1 million. And it's like, no. You have to like be specific and say like, okay, this is what I'm doing, and speak it, because it just makes such a difference. Like, because now you're like, holy shit, because when did you open? What was your I know you had a soft opening, but when was your grand opening date?
So soft opening was March 26th. Grand opening was July 30th.
Yeah. So you're like, now you've been in it for a couple months. And what's been like your most exciting thing about opening the store? I know we've talked about the events. That's my favorite thing, to see, but, and the sweary closet. She has a sweary closet with a little curtain.
Yes. The pressing closet is my favorite thing in the whole world. I wasn't, because this town can be a little conservative. And I am not. So I was a little concerned, like, is this town ready for sweary shit? And oh my God, like, hand over fist, that's probably where I make most of my money. It's just a tiny little closet because it used to be a little fitting room. So that, and like, so there's like a sheer curtain, so it like kind of feels naughty going back there, like the
right
stars, right? And it's like in direct line sight of my counter, and so like I just like, you can't really see people, you see their feet, and then you just hear them laughing to death in there, and it's like the best fucking part of my job. I'm like, yes. And then they're reading it out loud, like, stupid cunt. Like, it's just so funny. So that's like definitely like one of my, my crowning achievements.
Yeah.
Sure. But like to let people be themselves, like there's such like this like weird, like, oh my God, swearing. And like so many people, like, I'm like, oh, I don't know if it's your thing, but we have a cussing closet. And some people like, well, I'm Christian. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean?
Right. I guess so. Curse.
You don't think he didn't swear when he fucking hit his hand with a hammer? Jesus. What? Okay. I don't know what that means. I didn't say we're clubbing babies to death in the closet.
Right.
It's like the word shit. Like, chill out, guys.
Right.
Like, of all the sins, I don't think swearing registers very high. Like, if it does, but like,
well,
you know what I mean?
And I feel certain types of ways about cursing. Like when I got so nervous because I once took a class and they were like, you have to be careful how you present yourself on social media. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So I'd be like really cautious and I wouldn't curse and I wouldn't say things. I didn't want to hurt people's feelings, or I don't know. I just had like this weird feeling about it. And now I'm like, as soon as other people, like really you're an inspiration because you curse. And I'm like, she cursed on social. I want to curse. Like, it's just funny how you get permission almost, but you don't need the permission. But when somebody else does it, you're like, fuck yeah. Like way. And it's just so awesome to step out and say, I'm going to curse. And I feel like if you are, depending on like what type of parent you are, is totally up to you. I have no problem cursing in front of my kids because I'm like, it's just language. It's just language. Like my daughter knows that it's not good to say that. She'll be like, I love when she talks about my membership. She's like, you're book besties. I'm like, you're so funny. Like, I'm like, it's okay. I mean, she knows, but I think it's important because if you're just who you are, there's nothing hidden about you. And sometimes there is that, oh, did you just curse? Oh my God. Yep. Oh my gosh, like, how dare you, and I'm just like, yes, like curse all you want to, be authentic, be your 100% self. Like,
yes,
I think it's so important.
Yeah. I love that. It's so funny when I, so I had this business while I was still teaching and counseling. And so one of my coworkers, like, she knows me outside of work. She knows I swear a lot. Like my bosses, I worked there for almost 10 years. Everybody knew that I swore. I'm sure the kids knew. I didn't drop the F-bomb in class, but I'd be like, what the hell, man? Little soft swears, whatever. Anyways, but I would post as Cards O Glee and I would swear. But like my stuff is positive. It's just like happy fucking Friday, right? Like whatever.
Right. Yeah.
I wasn't like, go murder people. Fuck yeah. Like, happy swearing. Anyway, she like went to my boss, like she didn't even come to me. We know each other. She went to my boss and was like, oh, what do you think about Nicole like putting out this swearing stuff?
Rude.
Like,
how dare you?
My boss was like, it's Nicole and it's her other business. It's not her teaching account.
Right.
What do you want me to tell her? You can't swear? Like, get out. Like, get out. So, it's just funny how people react to that. And I could have very easily been like, oh my God, like, oh no, but I was like, no, fuck, this is exactly why I have to leave this job. Fuck this.
Right. Well, exactly. And I 100% agree with you that one of those things about being in education that I realized after I left is I kept feeling like I was a bit caged because I thought, I can't really share who I am. I can't really show you, like, even as far as not putting my favorite breweries on a sticker on my car, because I was so nervous that if somebody saw that I was going out to my car, that they would see that. And I was like, nope, I drink, I swear, get used to it. Like, it's just, it's like, yeah. And to think, if somebody says something negative, it brings me back to, I can't remember where I heard it, but it's like, it's almost like it makes somebody else uncomfortable because they aren't brave enough to step into who they are. And so then they're like, well, screw her. Like, how dare she? But it's like, actually on the inside, it's because you don't feel brazen enough to be authentically you. And I hate that women are pit itself, like they're pit against each other. And I know I mentioned this book before, but The Untamed by Glennon Doyle, she talks about that, how we just like fight against each other. And even Kathy Heller has said it, why do we hate against other women who are glowing and shining their light? Why?
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, exactly for what you said.
Yeah, it's just, so who would you say, if we're talking about like how inspired I am by you and how you just had this dream. Do you feel like there's anybody in your life? I mean, I think I know the answer, but I'm not going to say it out loud. Well, I mean, I'll tell you who I think, but the person that you think is the most influential in your life, that you feel like this person just inspires you and keeps you moving forward, makes you feel like you can just do anything.
One person that inspires me. Fuck.
You're like, why don't you just tell me who you think?
I mean, I have so many inspirations. It would be hard for me to say one person, but like, for example, my students, like when I opened every weekend for months, I had former students coming in.
I love that. I love seeing that.
And they would say like, this is so cool to see you do this. This is so cool. Cause at my school, we were project-based. And so all the kids had to, do a bunch of research and present, and their senior projects were massive. They had to do just like a massive thing. And so like, I would joke with the kids, like, this is my massive advisory project. This is my senior project, trying something really scary and learning something new. And so that was like a huge inspiration for so many kids, and then they could swear around me and I could swear around them.
Yeah.
Their graduating was super fun. So like, that was an inspiration because I wanted to show kids to follow their dream. As crazy, like who thought I didn't even open yet. My dad and I were still working on the shop, and this couple came in, and they were kind of drunk from the bar across the street. It's fine. Which
is so great to be near a bar. Just saying, after work drinks. Yes, just saying. I can walk out before work drinks, whatever.
It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. So, anyways, she came in and she goes, "What are you selling here?" I'm like, "Oh, greeting cards." And she goes, "How are you gonna make any money off of that?" And I was like,
"Wow."
Anyways. So like, she inspires me to like get done. And like my mom, she kind of like all of our moms, okay, maybe not all of our moms, but from that time period, my dad was the breadwinner. She sometimes had jobs, but she was taking care of us. And she never felt like she really got to live her dreams. Like, she's an amazing singer and dancer, but she got married young and she had us, and that was it. And so like, I do the things that scare the shit out of me because I know that she felt like she couldn't. And I want to make sure that I always feel like I have the freedom to do the crazy. I don't know.
I think that's such a beautiful answer, because sometimes we have those women in our life that we know that maybe they weren't able to be, not necessarily that she wasn't able to be everything she wanted to be, because maybe that's what she did want to be. But I mean, like, that somebody that inspires you to move even bigger mountains and do even bigger things. I think that's so awesome to have badass students and women in your life. And of course, I was thinking, just because I love him so much, is your dad, just the fact that he flew there to help you. And then I'll see your post about your husband, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's just surrounded by such cool ass people. Like, I just think it's so great. Like, your life is full of glee, and of course there's probably negative things that happen, of course, but like, I love the glee too, because I'm like, oh, she just like takes a negative and turns it into a positive. Like, you're inspired by the woman who talks shit to you. Like, we should all do that. Like, screw the haters. So
I mean, definitely my dad and husband too. They are more like, I mean, I'm inspired by them, but more I feel anchored by them and supported by them. Like, they make it possible because I know I have them to lean on. I mean, obviously my mom too, but like, they're invaluable. Oof.
Yeah. And it's really important, even if somebody out there doesn't have somebody supporting them. I think it's so important when you do, but if you currently don't have someone supporting you, just be more authentic, and then people will start to flock, because they'll be like, oh, I really love what you're doing. I really love what you're doing. I want to join in. And so sometimes you have to be the person that you want others to be to yourself, and I think it's a hard lesson to learn sometimes, but in going back to your cards, because I know we talked about your parents and it reminds me of the cards, the card that you made for them. How do you create such creative content? Like, do you sit there and drink some cocktails and say, okay, this is funny? Like, do you just naturally come up with it? Like, is it things that you've heard along the way? Like, where do you come up with your awesome cards and fun stuff?
D, all of the above.
You're like, done. Easy answer.
Like next, no. Yeah.
No, I guess I kind of answered the question. You're like, well, what would you like me to say, Brianna? You just said everything I need to say.
I mean, that's it. Like sometimes they totally just come to me and it's super quick and I'm like, that's it. And I roll with it. Sometimes I do keep like in 100,000 different places, I write card ideas and it's like in notebook and in like 42 files on my computer and 17 notes on my phone. Cause I can't.
But you never go back to, right?
Very
So
rarely.
many ideas.
Very rarely. It's, you know, but when I do, I'm like, oh shit, that was really good. Why didn't I make that card? Because I leave my notes in 100,000 places. So I do that. And like sometimes friends text me stuff, or when we're on the phone, like my friend Danielle will be like, oh shit, that's a fucking card. Write that shit down right now.
Yeah. Exactly.
She's like, I'm waiting, write it down, like literally. So, you know, sometimes that happens. You know, sometimes I don't know what to put on a card. And so I don't push it. I'm like, there's other cards I know that are low hanging fruit that I'm like, yep, that's it. So the ones that are, it's like, I had a lot of people in recent, like my card's like really bright and funny and sweary, but like, obviously tragedy happens. And to say my whole life is really easy is really far from the truth.
Right,
It's going to be naturally very sunny, but you know, bad shit has happened for sure. Anyways, but a lot of people were asking for sympathy cards, which we have some, but I think they're a little, I don't know, maybe too cheeky. I don't know. I don't know what the word is, but maybe not hitting the mark. So then I had to sit down and write grief cards. And I was like, oh, like nobody knows what to say for this shit.
No, nobody. Yeah.
But, you know, I have those coming out, well, this week, I think actually. So, you know, but like, I just had to sit with it and I didn't push myself. And I tried to think, you know, like, I've had some major losses in my life, and what were the things that people said to me that made me feel better? And then I try to put that into cards too, you know?
Yeah. And I think it's important to know the right things to say, because sometimes I never know. Sometimes I never, that made so much sense. Sometimes I just won't know what to say. And I don't want to say the sorry about your loss, or I mean, you probably could even make a card about that stupid phrase. Well, it bothers me because they'll say they're in a better place. Huh?
Because you live in Florida and it's thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, exactly. But they'll say they're in a better place. And I'm like, no, this is the place I want them to be in. Like, shut up. Like, don't say that of all things. Or they're not hurting anymore. I'm like, I know that.
Hurting.
Yeah, I'm hurting now. You know, like I know they're not hurting, but fuck, you know, like come on. And it's so great. I feel like to be surrounded by creative people, it just makes other people feel just as creative, because, you know, I had an artist, I have you as the card creator, like having those creativity juices flowing. It's like, just don't stop as soon as you write it down. And I think you probably need to create a resource for yourself for writing down all of your notes. Like if you have the journals and you have the notepads, like just join them all together into one.
You're 100% right.
Yeah. So do you think spreading glee is like what you're most passionate about? Or do you think you have other passions in your life that, you know, aren't part of your business? You know, just what are you most passionate about?
Yeah, definitely spreading glee, just because it's like, life fucking sucks. It's hard. It's really hard. Like, even though, you know, I'm naturally super sunny, like it's still hard. I still struggle. Everyone is struggling. It's hard. So anytime I can make somebody feel seen or feel heard or feel known through a card or through a gift or through whatever, and help other people to do that as a chain reaction, like that's just so important. Like when back to that writing class I did, you know, it was just like, we were, you know, just talking about the essence of learning. And I was like, you know, people just want to know and be known. Like that's what they, you know, like they want to know things and they want people to know them. And so I think, you know, cards are a way of saying like, hey, I see you. I really see you. and you're a badass, you're awesome, you're doing great, whatever that is. Like if I can help facilitate that in a $6 way, like $6, and you get to like facilitate this awesome, cool connection through the mail. Like, so that's something I'm super passionate about. You know, I was passionate about that as a teacher because I taught in some really rough neighborhoods here in Vegas, really tough. I mean, I did my student teaching in Watts on my 4th day of teaching, 3 of my students were shot. I mean, it's like, I've been through some shit. I've been through some total shit with teaching. I mean, so much stuff. Anyways, so if I could, you know, I don't want to like come off as like, oh, no depth, just happy. Yeah. You know, like, no, I've seen some shit in my own life. I've seen shit in other kids' lives. But you know, through it all, if we don't celebrate, what the fuck are we doing? You know, we can't let the shit win. So yeah, I'm super passionate about it. And then travel. I'm so passionate about travel. That's like, that drives me.
I agree so much. Traveling is like my heart. Like, it doesn't matter. I could be, you know, that's where I want to spend all my money. I could have barely any food in my house, you know, except for my kids. They can eat well. I could be like, okay, I'm starving myself because I have a trip in a month. Okay. You know, we're going to be ready for this because I love the feel that you get of being in a new place. So what's your most favorite place that you've been to, that you visited? Like, what would you say? And of course, that's a really tough question. I know, because I have trips in my mind where I'm like, well, that's good. That's good. But if you were going to say one out of the many, what would be like your most memorable favorite?
Oh shit.
I know, it's a tough question.
So tough. It's so tough. Okay, so I'm gonna cheat and do 2.
I love it. You're a teacher cheating. It's so fantastic.
Yes, I'm breaking all the rules, baby. I think in Europe, probably like a place that captured my heart. So I taught overseas. I taught in France for a year.
What?
Yeah,
I've never known this. This is
I did.
Just get cooler and cooler every day. My God.
Oh well, yeah, I speak French. It's fine. So yeah, I did. I taught for a year in high school. I taught high school English in a town called Le Havre up north in France. It's 2 hours north of Paris on the Seine. So it was on the English Channel. And the high school that I taught was Lycée Claude Monet. So it was like Claude Monet High School. Like, how the hell was I gonna like not teach at Claude Monet High School?
Yeah.
On a hill overlooking the English Channel. It was awesome. So
like, she just keeps going. She's like, I'm just going to continue to tell you all the amazingness.
No, whatever.
Everybody listening is like,
this fucking bitch. She shut the fuck up. God. Anyway, so I mean, I love Le Havre. Like, that has like definitely a place in my heart, but there's a little town over that you could take the bus to, and it's called Honfleur. And it's like where the artists would come to hang out in Normandy. And it's a really quaint little town, and had this little port in the middle of the town with all these colorful sailboats in it, and all the buildings around it were different colors, and just these little cafes and ice cream shops. And it's just all the cobblestone streets and all the different colored shutters. And so I took my husband there, part of our honeymoon. I wanted him to see where I lived. And then I took him to my favorite little town, and we sat on the little port with our ice cream cones. And it was, and apples are huge up there. So they have cidre, which is like the hard cider, but tastes better there. And so good.
It's just how fun, like, to be able to, I've always wanted to go to Europe and just to experience that. And
you haven't been to Europe?
No. And I know, it's one of those things where like, I'm like, okay, just make the decision and go, just make the damn decision and go. But it's hard because
for you. 7 days until you figure out your Europe trip.
Yes. I'd be like, okay, print it out, because I definitely have, you know, I used to think I always wanted to go to France, and I still do. I definitely want to go to France. And then I read Eat, Pray, Love, and I was like, I want to go to Italy. Ooh. There's food and wine. That's me, you know? And then, so I'm like, I definitely have to go. And then to see, oh, there's so much. And that's where my people are from. When I do my little DNA, and they're like, oh, you're from England area. I'm like, of course I am, you know? Yeah, I'm like, I always love to break into accents. You know, my friends love it. They'll be like, where's Emily? And I'll be like, here she is. Just go ahead, you know. But I love that. And you said 2 places. So one was France, and what was the other one?
I think here in the States, I love Northern Arizona. I always talk up Northern Arizona because it seems, I don't know, maybe it's popular, maybe it's not, but I love it. We're going for our 5-year anniversary in a few weeks.
So cool.
it's mountainous, and there's actually the color green there, which we don't get much here. And they have wineries everywhere and just cute little old historic buildings. And so like Flagstaff, Prescott, Jerome's built like in the side of a mountain. So the whole time you're in town, you like are seeing into this massive valley with all these mountains and just cute little things. I don't know. I love it. It's really cute.
That's so exciting. And I know my sister is a huge fan of Arizona. Like she personally loves, and I'm not familiar with the geography of it. And that's not to say I'm not familiar with geography of Arizona. I'm not familiar with geography. So
You didn't teach it. Fine.
Yeah. But she loves Sedona. Is that near that same area?
Yeah. Yeah. Sedona and Flagstaff are very near each other. Actually, I went once to go to Sedona for vacation. And once I got there, I canceled my trip and went to Flagstaff because it had a bookstore. And it was like, Sedona's really touristy. I'm going to Flagstaff. They had a tea shop and a bookstore. So.
I love that.
I mean, Sedona is beautiful too. It's all in the same area. So that's what's neat.
Yeah.
You get a lot of different season all within like a 2-hour drive. So.
And it's really, going out west is such a different experience. You know, I would absolutely live out west just because there's so much to see and do. And, you know, my sister and I are going to go to Arizona next year because she just wants to visit because she used to live there somewhere along the way. She's a traveling physical therapist and she loved it there, except wherever she lived, I'm pretty sure it was Arizona, but again, geography. But she said like the inside of her house was like 90 degrees. And I thought, oh my God. I can't take that, you know, I don't know if I can take that heat, you know, because I have the humid heat here and I hate it. Like I am absolutely a seasons fan. That's why I hate Florida because it's like never seasons.
Yeah.
Whatever, but still one of my dreams to travel for sure.
Yay.
So yeah, so you've mentioned a lot of really awesome things that you've done and a lot of awesome things that you've experienced. What would you say is the greatest accomplishment of your life so far? Of course, you still have so many more things, but do you think it's a culmination of everything blended together, or has there been one thing that changed everything for you?
Great question.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Such an easy one. You're asking all the easy ones. Again, I mean, definitely living in Europe was a massive one for me. It was so much fun, obviously, but like, you know, I had already been teaching in the States for 3 years. So when I went to Europe and saw how teaching was there, like, I don't know why I came back. That was stupid.
Yeah.
But,
what is wrong with me? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like it was crazy. Like the kids don't sit until you tell them to sit. Like they get to class and they stand at their desks and then you have to tell them to sit. And I was like so weirded out by that.
And you're like, what?
The funniest thing, oh my God, I was like, so I would stand at the door and greet my students. Like, did you ever stand at your door and greet your students?
Well, I think it was part of the requirement to like see them as they came in, but like most of the time they'd be like, what's up? What's up? You know, like you're like, hey, okay, come on in, you know, especially when I taught at 7 a.m.
Oh yeah.
It was the worst. I'm like, who wants to learn? I don't want to teach at 7 a.m, you know, like
that's like nap time, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well, I taught in some interesting neighborhoods. So we always had to stand in the hallway and greet them at the door to keep an eye on the hallway because bad shit happens in the hallway. And so anyway, so I did that in France. And after a few days, a bunch of these teachers came up to me and they're like, why are you doing this? And I was like, doing what? And they're like, why are you greeting your students like a prostitute? And I said, what? I'm like,
oh my gosh.
It's bad, but like, did you say prostitute? And they were like, yes, only women who stand in doorways are prostitutes. Why are you standing in a doorway and greeting your students?
Yeah,
don't
you're
do
like,
that.
what?
And I was like, because at my school, kids would beat the shit out of each other in the hallway.
Right,
so
I need to check up on them.
And I just want to say good morning to my students. And they're like, absolutely not. You cannot do this. You have to stop. And I was like, it's so anyways, it was just like, you know, mindful, even just that little thing is like, you know, if you never leave your country, it's so hard to understand like you just gain a deeper sense of, I don't know if empathy is the word, but like, you know, you just become so much more open-minded and realize like things that are normal for us are super weird to other people and things that are, you know, super normal to them are super weird to us. So it's like, it's such a good experience to see how other humans live. Like you can't, you just
Yeah.
can't really, even though America is so diverse, it's still very different going over, and even Europe isn't that different from America, but it's still like, it really opens your mind, and you have to let go of all of these things that you like hold on to, because you're like, oh, that's kind of bullshit. Like, so I think it just makes people better humans when they go and see how the other parts of the world live, and realize there's more than one right way to do things.
Yeah. Oh, and one of the best moments of my education career was being able to intern when I went to school to be a school counselor. I got to intern for 3 weeks in Belize. And it was one of the most amazing experiences because I learned so much. Like, number one, the students stay and the teachers travel to each classroom. And I thought, and then they clean the classroom at the end of the day.
That's fucking
and I was like, seriously? And these kids also, when you walked in, they all stood, which was very interesting. But it was like, they were so sweet. And I just wanted to take all of them home because I thought they were just the cutest faces and so ready to learn. And just, it felt like one of the things that was really amazing to me is they had a school counseling class. So it was, I wish I could think of the name of it, but like the goal was to teach them the school counseling related stuff that I wanted to do in my own schools, but we don't have that here, in our schools. The counselors come into the classroom and do a lesson and then they're gone, and they go into their office and do all the busy work of all the paperwork that you really don't want to do as a school counselor. You just want to work with the kids. Just saying, I could do a whole episode on that. And they come in, and the cool thing is they learn those strategies and those life skills that they need to know, but the class is not graded. Cool. And I thought, that's so interesting. And I said, if in America we did that, would the students give it their best effort? Because in Belize, they actually were. Like, I would give an assignment and the kids were just working away at it. And of course, they were all fun assignments because, we're just coming in there for 3 weeks. But it was like they were actually doing it. And I'm like, you're not even getting a grade for this. This is so cool. Like, and here it's such a reliance on, what are your grades? Mm-hmm. How are they? And even being out of education, I'm like, screw grades. No, I of course I help students learn how to increase their grades, but at the end of the day, I'm like, did you learn something? Was it valuable? Let's talk about what you learned, not what grade you earned,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Uh-huh.
So it definitely opened my mind so much to be in Belize. And I thought I could totally do this. Like, studying abroad, if anybody's thinking of studying abroad, you have to fucking do it. You have to do it. It's incredible.
Yes.
Yeah. So what do you hope people remember about you? Not just in your business, but in your life? Like, if you had that moment of somebody saying like, Nicole was this to me, or Nicole did that for me, what would it be?
I think maybe that I helped make something brighter for them, whether they're going through a tough time, or, that I just helped make it brighter, and that I truly listened to them, like more than a superficial, like, oh, okay, like that I truly, took time to really connect with what was under the surface.
Yeah.
I think that, because I think relationships are the basis of everything in the world, especially in education. Yeah. And that, when my husband has a tough day, because he's been teaching significantly less than I have, he only started a few years ago. I always go back to, did you build a relationship with that kid? What's the relationship? What do you know about that kid? And when he's like, I'm like, see, you don't know your kid. You have to know them. When you know them, they're going to love you because they're going to feel seen. And so that's like the biggest thing, is like that somebody really felt seen and heard and known by me. I think that's like the biggest gift you can give to somebody. It's like, put all this shit aside and you're just like there and you really see them. Like I'm hoping that's something.
They don't care what you know until they know that you care.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's so true, because sometimes you come into the classroom, especially when you have that, that I'm going to change the world, you guys, like, it's going to be awesome. And the kids are like, who the hell are you?
Yeah.
You're just going to be another person who's going to walk away from me. You're just going to be another person that's going to leave my life. And sometimes when you walk into that classroom, you're like, no, 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 no. I promise I'm going to love you. I'm not going to leave you. Yeah. But then, I'm not sure how it is where you are, but like in my area, people are leaving different schools. We have different, it's rare to find a teacher who has stayed at a particular school for a long period of time, who, a principal who's been at a school, especially if you're doing well, they're like, awesome, you're doing really great here. I'm going to need you to go over here to be at this other school because they need you. Oh, you did really well over there. Okay, now we're going to move you over here. And it's like, oh my gosh, like the things that, really go on in schools, we could have a whole conversation on that. But
yes, spicy.
Yeah, so many secrets.
So much bullshit.
Yeah, but yeah. I agree. Like, especially learning from students, that was one of my favorite things. And even now, hearing them talk and their life experiences is such an inspiration, and as well as a moment of what is going on out there. It's so different from how we experienced school.
Oh, it's scary. It's sad. It's sad.
Yeah, so let's go teach in another country. I'm kidding. Now I feel like I'm talking shit about this country. I just meant because we both had really great experiences. That was not a good transgression. Sorry, America. I didn't mean it that way.
Good. It's totally good. But there's no shame in that. That's okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's why, like part of me, I didn't want to leave because I felt guilty, because I had so many students, I don't want to say relying on me. They obviously are doing okay without me there, but that they would come to my office all the time and they needed help, and so part of me felt really guilty, but that's why I stayed through the pandemic, because I was going to quit before, but I was like, I can't do that to the kids. And so after the end of this year, when things kind of stabilized, I was like, okay, I feel better about taking off now. But part of me, that was what was holding me back. But then the other part of me was like, oh, I can open a shop and then just teach things I want to teach, and there's no grade and kids can come and it'll just be like, oh yeah, why the fuck wouldn't I do that? Oh, okay.
Absolutely. Yes. And I'm right there with you. One of the last jobs I had, or the last job I had, was a librarian, and I loved it. And I remember having students in this one particular class that were like, are you going to be here next year? And I was like, yeah, fuck. Because I knew that, I was pregnant with my son. I knew that if in the best case scenario, I was going to be a stay-at-home mom and then have my own business and then do another business online or whatever I could do to be able to stay at home with them. And so it was but I just remember feeling like shit, because I thought, because I really loved reading aloud to them. I really loved being with them and hearing their conversations about it. And so when they would get so excited, I thought, oh fuck, I want to ruin your day, and then of course a couple years go by and they're probably forgotten about us anyway, but they probably won't actually know, because we're just awesome. So I shouldn't say that. They're gonna remember us.
No, we made a difference. Damn it.
Exactly. I don't know why I just said they would forget us. Who could forget?
Atta girl.
Exactly. So where do you see yourself in 5 years, or what are you looking forward to most in the future? Do you have any other big plans that you really want to build up to? And of course you could easily say, I'm just going to stick with this card shop for 50 years. What is your ultimate goal, or where do you see yourself personally or even professionally?
Another great, easy question.
Yeah, I'm just full of it. Full of
no, questions. These are good ones. We should think, even though you only need to see a couple feet ahead of you, you also do still need to take the time and have those general ideas, so you know exactly how to steer the ship, right?
Right.
So I think, I love owning the shop. It's super sweet. But I would like to be a little bit less location dependent, because I love travel so much. And because my in-laws live here. So family does live here, but my family, I haven't lived near them in 20 years. And so and now they all have kids. And so I'd like to go see them more often than just once a year, what we do right now. So, I would like to figure out a way to make my business a little bit less location dependent. I'm still working on that idea. But I think it's so cool. I love that I'm doing it. I think it's great. And then I think like you, I love books, and it's always all my teachers growing up would tell my parents oh, she's going to be an author. And and that was a lot of pressure. And so I kind of drifted away from it, but I would love to write a book for sure. NaNoWriMo's coming up. Have you ever done NaNoWriMo?
No, but I've heard such great things about it, and we all have ideas in our head. Do you have an idea of what you would write about?
I've done it once with my students. Best thing I ever did in the classroom. Best thing.
Oh,
hands
so
down.
cool.
So I wrote one book, and I don't know, I might do it again, but I don't have an idea for this one.
Better publish that shit. Better publish it. Out there, don't be fearful.
It's a stupid shit, but thank you.
Or just like, put it like, make one copy or maybe like 5 copies and then put it in the side of your store, and then somebody be like, what's that? I don't know. What is that? And then sign it, like this is like when I become a celebrated author, you'll have the first copy and they'll be like, shit, like make it like exclusive author content. They're like, okay, I have to have it.
I love it. Yes. Yeah. Okay. That's one of my big goals.
Yeah. Yeah, you better do it, especially because November's in like what, 11 days?
I know. Right? So. Like total hell to do it, but I'm like, I think I'm ready. I mean, I have no time, but I'm going to do it. I might, I don't know. Yeah. I'm hoping. Yeah.
When does anybody ever have time? When,
you don't even. Exactly. No, you just don't. Or the energy. Like now that I'm 40. I'm like, fuck, I don't have the energy. Like, I just don't. I'm like,
You're like, well,
yeah, that's cute. That was a nice idea.
No, but you've got to do it. You've got to do it. I mean, I was just talking with Debbie on Monday, and she's like, I'm 56. Like, it's time to step up. Let's go. Like, I've done more in my 50s than I've done, in the other years. And I'm like, oh, I love that. I love that.
Inspiring.
So
she's great.
Yeah, you have to just do it. And so what is one small change that you recommend for our listeners, and our viewers to take away that you want them to learn from this conversation? Like one small thing that they could say, here is what I recommend for you to step into your most badass self. So one time I was in Austin visiting my sister, and I would always find like a cute coffee shop. I know. I love it. Yeah.
And I went to a coffee shop, and there was this like, dude, he was like, I don't know, 40s, 50s, an older Black man. And I say that because I was sitting there, and he learned that I was a teacher, and he's like, is that your passion? And I said, I don't know. It's like one of them. And he's like, what's your big, hairy, audacious goal? Like, what's your dream? And I was like, I really want to own a bed and breakfast. And like, while I'm there, I sit at the fire and write books. And then I have
oh my God, yes.
Yes. Something like that. And he's like, oh my God. So that's what he said. He said, I started a business. And he's like, I was 40 years old. I'm a Black man. I had, $2,000 in savings, and I had cancer. He's like, and I started a business. What the fuck is your excuse? He's like, do you have money in the bank? I said, yeah. He's like, does your family support you? I'm like, uh-huh. He's like, is your health good? I said, yeah. And he goes, and you're white in this country. I'm sorry. What excuse do you have? And I was like, oh, fuck. Okay. Anyways, we talked for 16 hours, 8 hours the first day. And then he met me at the coffee shop, and 8 hours the next day. This was like 10 years ago. Anyways, the one thing he told me was every day you have to ask a question. You have to ask a question, and you have to figure out an answer to that question. So he made me get on the phone with the real estate agent in Austin and just ask, what are your bed and breakfast zoning laws? Because I was like, I don't know. And so he said, every day, if you're not asking a question, you're not growing. So that was when I like saw that place for rent that day here in town, my shop. I was like, I just have to ask the question. My one question is, how much is this a month? If I just ask that question, it doesn't matter what happens after that. And so I asked the question, and it happened to line up with what I was okay with. But if I never asked the question, I wouldn't be here. So if you could just ask one question, just one, it doesn't even have to be to a real person. It could just ask a question on Google and find your answer. Yeah. Each day you're going to build up, and you're going to build up that confidence, because you're going to build up your knowledge, and you don't have to do that forever. But just that one question got me to this. So, ask a question.
Was that a stranger, or is it somebody that you were meeting there?
Total stranger.
That's just to think that like, oh, it just makes me think that it just takes one person saying something to change everything. Like literally, you are absolutely right. You are absolutely right, because all it took is, this one conversation of someone saying, you need to do this. you need to shine your light. And I was like, I do need to shine my light. And then I was like, I want to host a workshop. I'm going to invite women. They're going to be badass. They're going to have my core values. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And then you just go and do it. And it's like, it all took one conversation. And so for someone to hear, just to ask yourself one question, they might think the first day, like, what am I going to do today? And then like the next day, it's like an even better question, and it just keeps growing. And it's like, that is what life is about. Oh, I've loved this fabulous conversation. You are awesome. Awesome. Where can everyone find you and learn more about you, follow you, buy from you, all the things to get in touch with Cards O Glee?
Okay, so cardsoglee.com. And if you're listening to this, I put in a coupon code for you today. So
Oh,
you type in badass, you get 10% off your order.
Oh, this is awesome. Yes, I've totally got to share that everywhere. So
yes,
put in badass. Yes.
Yeah, do that. So badass is the code, one word. And then if you spend over 40, you get free shipping. So that's exciting.
Yes.
But yes, cardsoglee.com is where you can see pretty much everything in the shop, unless I get lazy with inventory.
Yeah.
And then cards.o.glee on Instagram, and just Cards O Glee on Facebook. And I think that's all the places. And Boulder City, if you happen to live in Las Vegas.
Yeah. Go by the shop. Like now I'm like, okay, anybody want to travel? We're all going to go meet there one day. We're just going to be like, surprise, we're here.
I mean, I have a brewery. I have 2 breweries right within a block of me, Brianna.
Yes.
What are you doing?
And there's that idea that you've shared with me twice now, that like people are like, you need to do this. And I'm like, fuck yeah. It's where you go to different cities, you meet up with somebody, and then you go like talk about a book and have a beer or drink. And you're like, yes.
Yes. A traveling book club.
Yeah.
Signing up.
Like the sisterhood of the traveling books.
Oh my God, but why not? Why couldn't you do that?
Yeah.
Ask yourself a question every day. What would it take to do that?
Exactly. Yeah. And it's so inspirational. You are just fabulous. Thank you so much for doing this. And I am so excited for everybody to check out cardsoglee.com. And don't forget the coupon code badass. I love it.
Yay. Oh my God. Thank you so much. This was so fun. I'm so glad we got to do this.
Yes. So have a fabulous day, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.